Hi, this week we begin our study of The Exorcist, and I want to say a few words about that film before we get started with it. First, I want to give you a little bit of background on the film and what happened when it was released. The film was released around Christmas time of 1973, so it's been nearly 40 years since that film was released. And when it was, the reaction was interesting. There were some people who were very disturbed by the film, but there are also reports of people lined up for blocks and blocks to buy tickets for it, to see it, trying to get into the theater. If you go back to reviews of the film and to articles that were published at the time, what you will find is that there was a critical debate that in some ways mirrors the response that students have to the film today. Some people were simply horrified by it and wanted nothing to do with it. Others saw it as a very moral film, and I'll read to you a couple of quotes from the writer of the novel and the screenplay, William Peter Blatty. He says that the film, quote, is designed to have a powerful emotional impact. A sermon that people sleep through is utterly useless. As I interpret the film on the moral level, it's doing its job when people react with the shakes, end quote. So the writer of the novel and of the film thought that people should be disturbed by this film, because only when they are disturbed by it would they be getting the message that the film is trying to communicate. Others, though, have reacted less positively to the message of the film. At the time, a Jesuit scholar at Loyola University in Chicago had this to say about it. He complained that the film never really grapples with the problem of evil. He says, quote, "The devil's true work is temptation. He leads us into sin. Evil as we know it is basically, fundamentally, sin. That is almost entirely missing from the movie. The devil in the movie was an easy devil to deal with," end quote. So Richard Woods is saying basically that the film doesn't really take up the question of what real evil is. It simply talks about an evil presence, but never deals with the consequences of that evil presence. More recently, a novelist by the name of Jack K. Morrow has complained that when this film deals with evil, really all it's talking about is sexuality. It doesn't talk about genocide, it doesn't talk about murder, it doesn't talk about racism, all kinds of evils. Instead, it is only focused on sex and sexuality. And to Morrow, that's not a real grappling with the real problems of evil. So you can see there's a debate that ranges from, I want nothing to do with this film, to this is a very solid moral film, to this is a film that tries to do something but then fails because it doesn't really take up the question of what evil really is. I'd like for you to keep all of those perspectives in mind as you watch the film. I also want to say a word about the film's content. Some of you who watch this film will not be fazed by it. In fact, you'll probably look at it and say, oh my gosh, given the level of computer work that has come along since 1973, this is child's play compared to some of the horror films that are out there. Others of you are going to watch this and you're going to feel very uncomfortable with it. I'll warn you, if you have not seen it, the language in it is obscene. The film is, after all, portraying a demon, so you wouldn't really expect a demon to speak nicely, and the film stays true to that. There are a couple of scenes, one of them where the demon that has possessed the little girl causes her. It doesn't show anything explicit, but the implication is that she is raping herself with a crucifix. That scene is a little bit disturbing. Again, I think it goes along with the idea that this is a demon that has possessed this child, and it is doing the kinds of things that demons would do. As you're watching, if you find yourself disturbed by those scenes, what I would ask you to do is to ask yourself why. Why might the director have chosen to include these scenes, particularly given William Peter Blatty's claim that this film is a sermon? He's not doing it just for shock value, although shock value may be a part of it. So ask yourself why. Step back from it, step back from your reaction to it and start asking those more critical questions, the more insightful questions of what purpose is accomplished by this, why might he have chosen to do this, how does this help the film to make an argument. Nobody, I want to be very clear about this. I'm not asking you to enjoy this film. I'm not suggesting that this is the kind of stuff that you should be watching on a regular basis if it makes you feel uncomfortable. That's okay. That's an appropriate response to it. It is nevertheless an important film in our study for the summer. And as always, I look forward to reading your responses to it and hearing what you have to say about it.